Hey, you guys, this is Rafael from Shiloh Relics.com. I hope you're all doing well. Hope everything's moving in your direction. Today, we're going to talk about some money, some Tennessee money from 1862, the year of our Lord, as my neighbor says. If I just made a new word. My caffeine has not kicked in. Can you tell it? It's early in the morning. I'm trying to get a couple of these done, so we'll have them over the holidays. This one is something cool. I've had a few of them over the years. I got just a few of them in on a collection that I picked up recently. It's an original state of Tennessee. It's an original Confederate state of Tennessee savings bond from 1862. It's in the amount of $1,000. And they were paying 8% interest at the time if you had $1,000 to buy this bond. It was passed on the act that was done on March 13th, 1862. They have an issue date of April 1st, 1862, which is kind of interesting when you tie everything that is on this bond together. Let's talk about the bond itself. In the center, we have the Great Seal of the state of Tennessee. Very pretty seal. It's the same seal that shows up on the Confederate buttons from the state of Tennessee. And it mentions across the top, Confederate States of America, state of Tennessee. So you didn't have to wonder, is this a pre-war bond or a war date bond? This was from the Confederacy, and they were going to be there forever. And so they proudly put it across the top. As we talked about in some of the earlier videos, when you bought a savings bond back then, they didn't have the computers to keep up with everything and let you know when it was time to get your interest dividends. So what you did, they had little coupons down at the bottom. You trim one of these coupons off. You could do it twice a year. And it had the date on there where you could do it the next time. You trim that off, you take it in, they'd give you $40. 40 and 40 twice a year is 8%. When it got to the end of the thing, and it says up here, April 1867, you take the bond in itself and you get your $1,000 back. If it had worked out that way, that's what they would have done. This one is from April of 1864. Because Tennessee fell into the hands of the Union and they just weren't able to keep the Confederate government going. As for the bond, there's a couple of different versions of Tennessee Confederate bonds. This one, to me, is one of the pretty ones because it's got that kind of tan color paper with the red ink. And what's cool about all of them, it's got a signature on it from one of the most important people in Tennessee Confederate history. There was a cat named Isham Harris, who was born on February 10th, 1818. Lived all the way to July 8th, 1897. He was the governor of the state of Tennessee before the war. He was elected, started serving in 1857, and he served until 1862 when the state of Tennessee government fell into hands of the Union Army. Right after he signed all of these, something happened that kept his name in history forever. The Battle of Shiloh, Tennessee. If you've never been to Shiloh, Tennessee, it's in West Tennessee. It's right where Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi come together. Middle of nowhere, which is where I live. But the coolest thing is the last drive-by that we had in Shiloh in Savannah, Tennessee was done by U.S. Grant in 1862. It's a good place to live. So this one was issued April 1st, 1862, according to the date. On April 6th, 1862, the Battle of Shiloh began. Hell was unleashed. Everybody, it was crazy. It was horrible. The man leading those Confederates was a general named Albert Sidney Johnston. He would lead the Confederates, rally them, get them. They were winning when he was struck in the leg. Thought he was going to be all right. So he said, I'm okay, just put me by a tree, I'll make it. And it turned out that it hit an artery and he bled to death. One of the men that came up and found him was Isham Harris, the governor of Tennessee, because he was on the staff of General Johnston. He comes up and he says, General, are you okay? And it's reported that he says, are you wounded? He said, Yes, and I fear seriously. So he dies. Harris is the first one on the scene. They actually take his body away, not to let the soldiers know, because he was the one that had rallied them. He was the man. Turned out to be the highest ranking field general killed during the Civil War. If you get a chance, read a little more about him. Impressive man. He had done a lot during his life, and just an important person. Back to Harris. Harris was the governor when the war broke out, and he was one that pushed for secession. And secession, in case you don't know, secession is a state leaving the Union. There was no law against secession. It was perfectly legal. They didn't let it happen, but it was perfectly legal, which at the end of the war, they wanted to charge all these people with secession, but it wasn't illegal. That's why Jefferson Davis, they held him for a long time, but they had to let him go because it wasn't illegal leaving the Union. But he is one of those that is credited most with pushing for secession. This one has a beautiful signature, Isham Harris, right there. And he did live a long time, signed a lot of things, but this one, you know when it was done, you know why it was done, you know where it was done, and it's a great, great piece. It's also signed by the Secretary of State, and each one of these is signed by a comptroller. And they had to keep track of them, so we have a serial number. This one is 669, and if you notice, each one of the coupons is numbered 669. So you knew when they were doing that accounting in Nashville that 669, we paid the $40, and they were able to keep track of it in that way. As for Harris, end of the war, he ended up, like so many of them, didn't want to live under Union rule, so he went to England and then Mexico. So, but he did come back in 1877. He was elected to Congress and served until he died in 1897. So he had a very interesting history. This is an original bond. It's pretty. It frames up. They frame up so well. I don't frame them because everybody's got their own personal preference on what to do as far as framing. I'll leave it to you. So go on to ShilohRelics.com. You can see this one. I think right now I've got the state of South Carolina, a couple of theirs. I've got a lot of Confederate ones because they issued a lot of different variations. A great thing to collect because you know me, I like variations. Go on to there, check it out. I hope that you guys are all doing well. You've heard me talk about the table, and if you haven't, the table is in Savannah, Tennessee, and it's a place where some wonderful, caring people that I'm proud to call friends have opened up a place to feed everybody. And when you think of that, you think of a soup kitchen. This ain't no soup kitchen. They've got a chef that cooks. And if you come through the door, you have multiple options. If you can't afford to pay and you're healthy, you can work for an hour and get your meal. If you can't afford to pay, somebody there will take care of you. And if you're not physically able to do things, if you have money, you can buy it. If you have a lot of money, or have been blessed extra, you can pay it forward, and they will give you tokens, and you can let them use them, and they will be sure that it gets where it goes. Well, I'm proud that I get to go there, and I know these people because it's something. There aren't many places in the world you can go that you won't be judged. If you walk through that door, you will not be judged. If you are having a hard time, and I've seen them help people. There was a man that came in there the other day. Didn't have shoes, and it was in November. My friends, they go get shoes. They put them on them. And the next day, said he come through that door, and he was so proud of his shoes. And there's good people. You just got to look for them, because if you look on the news, all you're going to see is buttholes. You look out there in America, and there are a lot of good people. There are a lot of good people. You don't hear about them. All you hear about most of the time are those buttholes. But I digress. The table has set up a tree of warmth. And when I heard it, hell, it brought tears to my eyes, because I think we've all seen people that just need something, and most people are too proud to ask. They have set up a tree out front that has gloves, it has mittens, it has boggins and socks, and there was some blankets underneath it. And so, the reason I'm telling you this, you might not ever get to Savannah, Tennessee, but look into helping people that are around you. Because there's so many people that need just a little bit of help. And we can do it. It's not that we're working miracles, but a miracle to somebody that needs it can be a pair of gloves. So I'm thankful that I get to do my little part to help them. They are wonderful people doing wonderful things. I say this, go out there, see somebody that needs help, because you never know somebody's situation. And all of us have been, well, I don't know about y'all, but there's been times where I was close to losing everything. And I'm fortunate that I'm where I'm at today. And it makes you appreciate what you've had. If you took a chance and it almost didn't work, or if you took a chance and it didn't work, you might could use some help. So reach out there, help those people, not just in Christmas time, not during the holidays, all the time. Be that light. Go back, watch Clara Barton. Be a Clara Barton. That one makes me happy. I'm proud of that one. Watch that segment because she's an amazing lady, and I hope to be more like Clara. I love you guys, and I'll catch you next time.